Good morning again. This morning I'm going to read the story of Peppa Pig. And it's a scholastic book. And let's see, who was it written by? It doesn't have an author. Scholastic. My Family Tree by Peppa Pig. Once upon a time, there was a lovable, slightly bossy little piggy named Peppa. Squelch, squelch, more than anything in the whole wide world, Peppa loved jumping up and down in the muddy puddles. Mummy Pig was Peppa's mommy. She was very wise about most things. Mommy Pig would say, "Peppa, when you jump in muddy puddles, you must wear your boots." Daddy Pig was Peppa's daddy. He loved eating cookies and had a big round tummy. When Daddy Pig jumped in muddy puddles, he made a very big muddy splash. So look at Peppa Pig's puddle. A little splash, and Daddy Pig makes a big splash. Why do you think Daddy Pig makes a bigger splash than Peppa Pig? It says he had a big round tummy. So if you look at him and then you look at Peppa, Daddy is bigger than Peppa. So maybe he makes a bigger splash because he is bigger. Or maybe look at their puddles. Her puddle is little. His puddle is big. So maybe his splash is bigger because his puddle's bigger. There could be many reasons. What do you think the reason is? When Peppa's little brother George was born, Peppa helped look after him. And as soon as George was old enough, Peppa taught him how to jump in muddy puddles. "George," Peppa said, just like Mummy Pig, "if you jump in muddy puddles, you must wear your boots." Oh, so she learned from her mom to wear her boots, and now she's teaching her little brother, "George, you must wear your boots too." That's very helpful. George liked muddy puddles, but he liked his toy dinosaur more. Even though George couldn't speak yet, he could say one word very well. Dinosaur. Grrr. Sometimes Peppa got a little bit annoyed with George. "George," she would say, "why do you always say dinosaur for everything? It's so boring." Look at her hands are on her hips and her mouth is looking very serious. She looks annoyed. One day, Peppa, George, Mommy, and Daddy Pig got into their little car and drove to their new house on top of the little green hill. Peppa was excited about the new house, but she was very excited about the very wet and extremely muddy puddles in the yard. Oh my gosh, look, they're carrying their chair, all their furniture and everything on top of their car. "Can we go and jump in the muddy puddles?" asked Peppa. "It's nearly time for bed, Peppa," replied Mommy. "You'll have to wait until tomorrow." Oh, Mommy doesn't want Peppa going to bed with muddy feet, so she said, "You'll have to wait." It's hard to wait. Peppa and George woke up very early the next morning and went to find Mommy and Daddy Pig. "Can we please go outside and jump in the muddy puddles?" asked Peppa excitedly. "We're going to Granny and Grandpa Pig's house today, Peppa," replied Mommy Pig sleepily. "You can jump muddy puddles there." Oh, so Mom said she has to wait and jump at her grandma's house. After breakfast, it was time to leave, so Peppa and her family jumped into their little car. "Ready?" asked Daddy Pig cheerily. "Yes, Daddy Pig," everyone answered back. "Then let's go!" shouted Daddy Pig. "Yippee!" cried Peppa. She couldn't wait to get to Granny and Grandpa Pig's house and jump in the muddy puddles. Uh-oh. You think there's going to be muddy puddles there? The family soon arrived at Granny and Grandpa's house. Peppa and George were very excited. They loved visiting Grandma and Grandpa Pig. Granny Pig, Grandpa Pig, cried Peppa. Gangly, glug, blah, blah, shouted George. Hello, my little ones, answered Granny Pig. Come inside. Granny, said Peppa, can I jump in the muddy puddles, please? I think Grandpa Pig has something to show you first, Peppa, said Granny Pig. Peppa was a little disappointed. She really wanted to jump in the muddy puddles. So she's having a hard time waiting, because waiting is hard. Grandpa Pig took Peppa and George to his vegetable garden. This is where I grow my vegetables, said Grandpa Pig. First I plant some seeds. Can we eat your yummy vegetables, Grandpa? Asked Peppa, forgetting all about muddy puddles. We have to wait for them to grow a bit bigger, replied Grandpa. Oh, gasped Peppa excitedly. We've grown plants before, haven't we? So first he's got to plant the seeds in the dirt. And look, he has apple tree too. So he's got vegetables growing down here and he has fruit growing from the tree. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. Oh dear, gasped Grandpa Pig. That was thunder. That means it's going to rain. We should hurry inside before we get wet. Peppa, George, and Grandpa Pig ran inside as fast as they could to get out of the rain. Uh-oh, do you see what George left behind? The sun is blocking my thing. There we go. Do you see? Look what he left behind. Oh, no. Peppa and George watched the rain splish, splash, splosh down the window. George started to cry. Don't cry, George, said Peppa. It's only rain. Dinosaur! But George wasn't crying because it was raining. George was crying because... You guys know why he's crying? Because he lost Mr. Dinosaur. Peppa searched upstairs and downstairs and even in the toilet, but she couldn't find Mr. Dinosaur anywhere. Just then, she had an idea. Peppa ran outside and found a very wet Mr. Dinosaur in Grandpa's very muddy vegetable garden. She ran inside and gave Mr. Dinosaur to George. George was very happy. Dinosaur! The rain had stopped, cried Peppa. What can we do now? I have a very good idea, Peppa, said Daddy Pig, pointing outside. Hooray, cheered Peppa, seeing the muddiest puddles ever. Peppa had been so busy looking at Grandpa's vegetables and searching for Mr. Dinosaur, she'd forgotten all about jumping in the puddles. Peppa loved jumping up and down in muddy puddles more than anything in the whole wide world. All of Peppa's family loved jumping up and down in muddy puddles more than anything in the whole wide world. Oh my gosh, look at all that mud that they're jumping in. Bet you they're all going to have to take a bath when they're done in that. Hee hee ha ha, oink oink, hee 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 ha ha, grunt snort. But I guess after all, they are pigs, and pigs love the mud. All right, guys, that is our book. I really hope you enjoyed reading Peppa Pig this morning. And I will talk to you all later. Have a great day.